more on what Maduro's capture could mean. Want to bring in Michelle Caruso-Cabrera, CEO of MCC Global Enterprises, a CNBC contributor. Good morning to you. We're all trying to figure out what comes next, what the sort of larger global implications are, and what the implications are for business.
Yeah, well, Andrew, I mean, when the Armada buildup occurred in the Caribbean, a lot of the questions were, OK, if you take out Maduro, what comes the day after? And now we know. The administration made a decision that they were not going to help usher in the members of the opposition who are living in exile, who in theory have a legitimate right to lead because they won an election. And instead, they chose a path which the administration clearly thinks is far more stable, choosing to work with Delcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, now currently the leader of Venezuela, in an effort to have a smooth transition that they think will lead to more oil production, which would help the country get back on its feet. I can tell you that was an extreme disappointment to members of the opposition who were hopeful that when this moment came, it would also be their moment. And Maria Corina Machado, who won the Nobel Prize for her efforts to restore democracy to Venezuela, not getting the nod is certainly very painful for a lot of them. But in the end, the administration was concerned about stability on the ground the day after.
Michelle, there's sort of two, though, big overarching views of this. The upside view, I think, is that this could give us great access to oil and other minerals. Therefore, it provides leverage in terms of how we think about Iran, how we think about China, how we think about Russia. That's assuming everything works out on the Venezuela side. There's the critical view, which is that this shifts our standing in the world, that it opens up an opportunity for China to take Taiwan, for Russia to take Ukraine. I mean, how do you think about sort of these bigger geopolitical questions?
Yeah, I've heard that a lot about China and Russia, and does this give them carte blanche to do what they want in their spheres of influence in their regions of the world? Conceptually, I suppose it does, but war is hard. Russia learned that. The invasion of Ukraine, Putin thought that was going to be easy. It has not turned out to be easy. It's actually turned out to be very, very difficult. And then even look at this operation. We used 150 aircraft for 2 individuals to be extradited in under 3 hours. It was an incredibly difficult operation. I think that's got to give a lot of would-be invaders pause about just what does it take to do things. As you mentioned, to take Taiwan is extremely
Michelle,
difficult.
Do you think is it fair to even conflate what we're doing with Maduro to taking by force Taiwan or attacking Ukraine and trying to make it part of Russia? Is it in the same, not even the same ballpark? Is it even in the same sport? I don't need an answer. I don't need an answer.
It doesn't matter, Joe, because they'll use it.
I know. You're going to hear it.
You're going
to hear it anyway. Let me just ask you this. Let me just ask you this. The opposition leader curried favor with Trump, saying you should have won the Nobel Prize. I mean, I don't know whether that was in anticipation of this inevitability or what it was, but does she not have the military's backing, or that was the perception? And why would the military, or if it was a junta or something like that, why would they back someone whose brother used to be part of the problem and a key advisor to Maduro? Why, I don't understand why that is.
You're talking about the woman who
in that country. No. Why is Delcy preferable for the administration?
So Secretary of State Marco Rubio was pressed by Kristen Welker yesterday on Meet the Press, and he said, I admire Machado greatly. I've known her for a very long time, but the fact of the matter is she and almost all the members of the opposition are not in the country at the moment, and it makes it very difficult for them to lead. And what kind of relationship would she have with the military, which is extremely important. Now, why would the military stick with Delcy Rodriguez? They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. The quarantine is still on with the boats. That means they can't sell oil, so they can't have money. And you've already read, Reuters is reporting that the Venezuelan oil company, PDVSA, has told producers in the country, slow it down because we're running out of storage space. So they don't have much of a choice. And if they don't cooperate, they've seen what the administration can do. I think that is why Delcy Rodriguez, I watched her live on Venezuelan state television when she made the first announcement that was very, very indignant and defiant. And then late yesterday, she put out a statement, didn't do it on camera, that was actually much more conciliatory about working with the government. I don't know what choice they have.
Michelle, I wanted to go to the upside scenario. We were talking about the downside scenario, or at least some of the critical comments. But arguably, and this is where maybe, Joe, you think it's conflating the issue, but if in fact we were to get control or have much better access to Venezuela, how it shifts the leverage and balance with our relationship with either China, or whether we want to attack Iran, or how we want to deal with Russia in the future, especially if you can, look, if you can undermine or lower the price of oil, that changes a huge dynamic. You talk about, by the way, annexing Canada. I say that laughingly, but not really.
No, we were going to trade Minnesota for Western Canada.
Michelle?
Right, Michelle? That makes sense.
Look, I think getting Venezuelan oil production increased would be a key way to help the Venezuelan economy and help 8 million people who have left the country eventually return to the country, reduce migration. That's one of the goals of the administration. And the administration's been very, very clear. They once again believe the Monroe Doctrine is back in force, and they don't want Venezuela harboring Russia, China, and Iran. Right. They've made that very clear.
But does even on the Democrats, do any Democrats really think we're trying to take over Venezuela, Michelle?
I mean, the president did bring up the oil. That's our oil. We need our oil. I mean, he said it over and over again, right?
To run it to get because it's been so mismanaged. And it is the Western Hemisphere.
I'm just saying,
we are a positive influence for the Western Hemisphere.
How long do we stay? What does that mean?
I understand.
Joe, he said
but I think we're well-intentioned. We're not communists trying to take over Taiwan or Ukraine.
Did I hear somebody ask, how long do we stay? See, that's what's very interesting is we're not there, right? They're using complete coercion to try to co-opt them so we don't have this post-Saddam Iraq situation. Let's see if it works.
Machado only left weeks ago. I understand that it'd be hard to say she could manage from where she is, but it'd be pretty easy to put her back.
You may need boots on the ground to do that.
Michelle, did you see this report?
I think that's the concern.
On Machado in the Washington Post? The Washington Post says that he effectively the president soured on her because of her decision to accept the Nobel Peace Prize last year. And at one point, there was going to be an effort to turn it over to him.
Yeah, my understanding is that, that may have upset the president, but the bigger picture is, were they in a position to lead the country in a stable way?
Right, the military. That said it straight up.
Right.
They.
Marco Rubio said over and over again yesterday, this is not Iraq, this is not the Middle East. However, post-Saddam Iraq looms large in the minds of the American people, and they have to consider that.